Today's lesson was on the fall of the Roman Empire, and our lesson essential question is, what were the contributing factors in the fall of the Roman Empire? So before we can talk about the fall of the Roman Empire, we need to know a little bit about what the Roman Empire was like at its height and what types of things the Roman Empire and its government provided for its people, so that we can talk about what is now missing for those people when the empire collapses. So we're going to go out and look at an interactive map created by Harvard University, which really shows us the extent of the Roman Empire at its height. So right now, what you can see here on the interactive map is, first of all, the vast amount of land controlled by the Roman Empire, and the borders that are provided here today are showing you some of the modern day countries that would have been in the area where the Roman Empire ruled during this time period. You can see that it completely encircles the entire Mediterranean Sea, and all of these purple lines crisscrossing all of this territory are Roman roads that were built, paid for, and maintained by the government, by the empire. All of these little black dots that just appeared with the little flags on them, these are Roman forts and towers that were guarded and staffed by Roman military in order to protect the borders of the empire. So you can see that there is a lot of protection needed here on the northern borders, as well as up here in the north of the United Kingdom. There is a lot of protection needed here along the far eastern part of the Roman Empire as it backs up to the Middle East and the Holy Lands. So you can see that there was a strong need for military. In addition to forts and towers, they also built walls for protection, mainly again along these northern borders. We can take a look at Roman cities and settlements. All of these little red dots that just appeared are Roman settlements or colonies, places where people of Rome either live within the empire or have gone out and colonized areas outside of the empire and are sending resources and goods back to Rome. All of these blue dots that just appeared are some of our major cities within the Roman Empire. So you can see that the cities are mainly located geographically close to Rome, which is right here, the city of Rome as a major urban center. And as we get further out into the edges of the Roman Empire, we see less cities and more settlements or colonies. The mines and salt works, these are the red dots that just appeared here. These would be places within the empire that the Romans could mine for valuable metals, valuable things like gold, silver, iron, and even salt, which was very valuable during this time in order to be able to preserve your food across the empire. You can see all of the market sites along these roads as trade routes where people could bring their valuable items to trade for either other goods or for money. And you can see the aqueducts, which were built in order to provide clean, safe, fresh water for drinking and bathing. Where people had good water supply, they built very elaborate systems of aqueducts in order to transport some of that water to places within the empire that was in need of it. So after we took a look at that, students were asked to think about, based on what they saw on the map, what were some of the functions and responsibilities of the government in Rome. So they provided clean water to the people. They protected the people. They built roads for traveling and trade, keeping the citizens safe, protecting a large amount of land, maintaining their roads and military forts, large focus on military and defense, and the establishments of forts to protect the cities. So then we talked about the different functions of government or the different roles of government and 4 main roles. The first of which is supporting and providing a legal system that gives stability and order to the society and protects people's property rights as well as their human rights. Rome had an extensive system of laws created to protect the rights of its free people, and Roman law influenced legal systems around the world long after the fall of the Roman Empire, including the Constitution of the United States. A second thing that the government provided was public goods, such as national defense or military. A public good is something that is paid for by all citizens of the empire through taxes, but also benefits all citizens of the empire when the government spends money on that particular program. All people, all citizens of the empire were protected by the military. So this is an example of a public good. Rome very much believed in and encouraged free trade and wanted to be able to protect the trade routes and maintain competition within its markets. And so providing those spaces for people to trade and providing military protection to the trade routes would create a good economy so that people could earn money and income and wealth through trade. And then finally, the government of the Roman Empire would often redistribute income through tax collection and government programs, meaning they would tax all citizens of the empire in order to pay for that particular program, but the program was limited in that only certain people were allowed to benefit from or access it. So something like this would be subsidized bread, where the government would tax all of the citizens, use that money to pay the bakers of the bread so that the bakers of the bread could then provide it to the poor at a very reduced or even no cost to the person who needed the bread. However, if you were wealthy, while you still paid the taxes to provide this program, you were not able to get the subsidized bread from the government. Another example of this would be the horse and chariot races and gladiator competitions that were paid for and sponsored by the government using tax money collected from all citizens. But for a variety of reasons, mainly geography, people who were not located close enough to the center of the empire in Rome never got to actually witness or participate in any of those entertainment opportunities. So the next thing that students were asked to do was think about 5 different programs of the Roman government and which function of government that program would be an example of. So the Roman roads fell under the categories of public good because everyone in the empire gets to benefit from and use and travel along the roads, as well as promoting competition and trade. One of the main reasons, other than the movement of the military, that the roads were built and maintained by the government was in order for trade to be able to flourish and move freely about the empire. The Roman military, again, falls under the same 2 categories. It's a public good paid for by the government from taxes, but that protects all citizens of Rome. And the military was often used to protect the trade routes and the people moving about the empire, so it promoted competition and trade within the marketplaces. Subsidized bread is an example of redistributing income via taxes or programs, because while all citizens were taxed bread, were able to access it. Roman law provides a legal framework and property rights for people to live under and guarantees people's freedoms and rights within the empire. And then the aqueducts could be seen one of 2 ways. It could be seen as a public good because it did transport water throughout the entire empire. However, if you were living in a place that already had a fairly good water supply, you might consider it to be a redistribution of income because you didn't need an aqueduct to bring water to you, whereas other people in the empire needed it in order to obtain fresh drinking and bathing and cooking water. One of the main things that Rome is known for was its famous gladiator contests. You can see a picture here. You have the warrior in his armor in the arena battling the lion here in this image. Sometimes the gladiator would battle other warriors, other gladiators, and it would be a fight to the death. Basically, whoever was the last man standing won. Other times they would fight a wild animal, like the one pictured here, a lion, a bear, a tiger, and it would be man versus animal. Again, a fight to the death, whoever was left standing. Often the warriors that were used, these are not people from the Roman military. These are people who have been conquered from other armies, other places that Rome has taken over, and then captured their soldiers as prisoners to be used either in these gladiator contests or as slaves within the Roman Empire. The problem with gladiator contests, as exciting as they are for us to think about in this day and age, is that they only benefited certain people within the Roman Empire. So we're going to pay close attention to this word here, perspective, which we've been talking about since the beginning of the course. And your perspective on particular government programs within the Roman Empire was really going to depend on your geographic perspective, how close or how far away you were located to the center of the empire in the city of Rome. If you are in the city of Rome, in the center of the empire, and the Roman emperor, who's located in Rome, decides to throw a gladiator contest, you are going to benefit. You are going to earn, your city is going to earn 20 denarii, which are like dollars, by hosting the contest, and you're going to pay taxes for it, just like everybody else. You're going to pay 15 denarii or dollars, but you're going to come out ahead because you're earning more money than what it's costing you to plan and to put on the gladiator contest. Same with Naples, which is located relatively geographically close to Rome. Your city is going to benefit bringing in 20 denarii or $20 while only having to pay out 15. Same with Pompeii, again, geographically close enough that you're going to make a profit bringing in 20 denarii or $20 while paying 15. However, if you start to look at some of these other cities within the Roman Empire that are not located geographically close to Rome, but are located more on those outer edges of the empire, Herculaneum and Capri are benefiting zero. They're not bringing in any money. The gladiator competition is happening so geographically far away from them that they can't attend it. They don't get any money coming into their city because of this event happening, but they're still paying the same amount in taxes. So their city is losing 15 denarii and gaining nothing back for the privilege of hosting or having a gladiator competition hosted by the emperor in Rome. So then what we did was students were broken into teams, and each team was assigned a city. And based on the city that you were assigned, they were asked to think about several different government programs that were funded and paid for through taxes by the Roman Empire, and decide for their particular city, based on their geographic perspective, would that program benefit them? Do the benefits outweigh the cost? And you can see through the charts, based on where people were living, certain programs benefited them, certain programs would cost them based on what resources they already had available to them. This is just a quick animation of the rise and then collapse of the Roman Empire. It's about 2 minutes long, but it does not have any sound. So if you're not hearing anything, don't worry. So as the Roman Empire grew and the government funded more and more projects, it misused more and more of the empire's resources. The economy of the Roman Empire suffered. On one hand, projects such as roads and aqueducts helped Rome grow and expand. On the other hand, as special programs increased, the government's poor spending choices wasted resources that could have helped maintain and protect the empire, making it vulnerable to attacks from outside enemies. To help fund and continue to provide all of these goods and services to the people of the empire, the entertainment in the form of the gladiator and circuses, the military protection, the roads across the empire, the subsidized bread, the government began making coins with less gold and silver in them, making Roman currency less valuable in its trading networks. Other causes of the fall of Rome, which are often brought up by historians, and you'll explore some of these later this week. External military threats from Rome being in a constant state of conflict. As it's trying to expand its empire, it's always in battle trying to conquer other lands, to take them over, to expand its boundaries. And then you have people from the outside constantly attacking, trying to reclaim land and trying to push the boundaries of the Roman Empire back. You have people who choose to flee or leave the empire due to diseases and plagues that are spreading. Some historians think climate change created a problem for the western part of the empire in Western Europe, creating an issue where people are not able to produce a steady food supply through agriculture to be able to support the empire. You have rapid inflation caused by the lack of gold and silver being used in the coins. When the value of the coins decreases, the cost of the goods increases. You have the spread of Christianity, the Christian religion, throughout Western Europe at this time period. People in the Roman Empire who are converting to Christianity are coming into cultural conflict with the people in the Roman Empire who are still worshiping and believing in the Roman gods. And so you start to have conflicts and issues there. And then overall moral decay, where people are simply not living up to their responsibilities as citizens of the empire. So what you need to do for Wednesday is a CER, claim, evidence, reasoning. Imagine that you are a citizen of the Roman Empire in the time period immediately after the collapse of the Roman government. All of the goods and services that were provided to you by the Roman government no longer exist. Which government program from the list below would you be most upset about losing, and why? So would it be the building and maintenance of the roads across the empire, the building and maintenance of the aqueducts for clean water, the ability to purchase or obtain subsidized bread to feed yourself and your family, the public entertainment opportunities provided by the government in the form of circuses and gladiator competitions, the protection for towns, travel, and trade routes provided by the Roman military, or the guaranteed rights for all citizens under the Roman laws and legal system. Once you choose one of the government programs, use evidence from today's assignment and the reading you did last week in the History Alive online textbook to provide evidence of how your chosen program helped the Roman people while it was in existence, and then explain your reasoning about what you think might happen in society when that particular program no longer exists for people to benefit from. This entire prompt is in Schoology in our Day 1 folder. That is where you're going to submit your CER. There is also a graphic organizer to help you with your pre-writing.